Washed up, soldier! The chant slices through the frostbitten air as Sarah Mitchell stands alone in Fort Bragg's training yard. Mud grips her boots. Recruits circle like wolves. Eager, bloodthirsty, Captain Derek Hayes strides in, flings a dossier at her feet. "This is what happens when women pretend to be warriors," he sneers, grinding her record into the dirt. Sarah doesn't blink. Her fists tremble, but not from fear. She almost rolls up her sleeve, almost reveals the mark burned into her wrist. Only 12 people on Earth know what it means. None of them are here. The recruits laugh louder, blind to what she truly is. They don't know this base still stands because of her. They don't know the names she remembers, but they will. If everyone you served with turned their back on you, would you still protect their secrets? Let me know where you're watching from. Sarah's quarters sit in the furthest corner of base housing, where paint peels from walls and pipes groan through sleepless nights. Each morning at 0400 hours, she reports to the commissary building where she once commanded briefings. Now she pushes a mop across the same floors where generals used to salute her. The other soldiers give her a wide berth in the corridors, their whispers trailing behind her like shadows. "That's the one who cracked in Syria," they say. "Abandoned her unit when things got hot. She never responds, never defends herself. In the mess hall, she takes her meals to go, always positioning herself near exits, her eyes tracking every movement in her peripheral vision. When she thinks no one is listening, Arabic words slip from her lips. Perfect dialect, flawless pronunciation. The contradiction puzzles those who notice. How does a supposed washout speak like a regional expert? The rumors paint her as a coward who folded under pressure, a failed leader who got good soldiers killed through incompetence. Her personnel file, accessible to anyone curious enough to look, spans barely 2 pages, suspiciously thin for someone who served 8 years. Captain Hayes makes her his personal project, conducting surprise inspections of her janitorial work, demanding she redo perfectly clean floors, publicly questioning her mental fitness in front of other soldiers. He wears 2 sets of dog tags around his neck, and when he screams at her, Sarah's eyes always drift to them rather than meeting his furious gaze. She keeps a photograph in her locker that she thinks no one has seen. Hayes' unit from 3 years ago, with 1 young soldier circled in fading red ink. On the 15th of each month, anonymous care packages appear at Hayes' door, containing his brother's favorite snacks and handwritten quotes about courage. General Patricia Chen watches from her office window as Sarah crosses the parade ground each morning. The general's fingers drum against her desk, a nervous habit she's developed over 3 years of keeping secrets. She knows what the others don't, that Sarah can disassemble any weapon in the arsenal blindfolded, that the woman who flinches when helicopters pass overhead once piloted Blackhawks through Syrian airspace under heavy fire. Even in 100-degree heat, Sarah wears long sleeves, hiding more than just the Phoenix tattoo. Scars from Aleppo web across her arms like roadmaps of sacrifice. Every night at 0300 hours, Sarah receives an encrypted message on a phone hidden beneath loose floorboards. The messages are always brief, always urgent, always deleted immediately after reading. 3 years ago, Operation Silent Thunder launched from this very base. Sarah led Phoenix Protocol, an all-female special operations unit so classified that most generals didn't know it existed. Their mission seemed straightforward: extract a Syrian scientist claiming to possess intelligence about a bioweapon that could kill millions. The 12 women of Phoenix moved like ghosts through Aleppo's war-torn streets, their training so precise they could communicate through hand signals in complete darkness. Everything unraveled in a compound on the city's edge. The ambush came from inside. One of their own had sold them out for a price that would make most people dizzy. Sarah fought through the betrayal, losing 3 of her team in the process, only to discover that their target wasn't a scientist seeking asylum, but a war criminal responsible for chemical attacks on civilians. The intelligence he offered came from his own experiments on innocent families. Sarah's unit wanted to complete the extraction anyway. Glory mattered more than conscience to some. Standing in that blood-soaked room with gunfire erupting outside, Sarah made a choice that would haunt her forever. She destroyed the bioweapon data and ensured the criminal's location reached the Syrian forces, who had lost children to his gases. As her unit retreated under fire, Private Mitchell Hayes took a sniper's bolt meant for a civilian child. Sarah held him as his blood soaked into dusty ground, his final words barely audible over the chaos. "Tell Derek I died proud," he whispered. "Tell him to be better than angry." Sarah never delivered that message, choosing instead to let Derek's rage have a target that could absorb it without breaking. The government's response came swift and merciless. Phoenix Protocol never existed, they declared. The mission never happened. The dead were attributed to a training accident. Their families told comfortable lies. Sarah's unit members received reassignments with glowing recommendations, their silence bought with promises of advancement. Only Sarah refused their offers. She agreed to bear the full weight of failure, to let history paint her as the officer who cracked under pressure and cost American lives. General Chen made one promise as they signed the papers that would erase Sarah's career. "Your sacrifice won't be forgotten by those who matter." 3 years passed, with Sarah honoring her agreement, enduring the whispers and contempt, building something new in the shadows of her disgrace. Captain Hayes leads the charge when anonymous tips guide military police to Sarah's quarters. They find classified Phoenix Protocol documents tucked beneath her mattress, mission files that should have been destroyed, weapon specifications that could compromise ongoing operations, and worst of all, the names and service records of the soldiers who died in Aleppo. Hayes can barely contain his satisfaction as they cuff her. Finally, he spits, "Proof you're the traitor everyone says you are." Sarah doesn't resist, doesn't protest. As they march her across the base, soldiers emerging from buildings to witness her humiliation, she whispers something that makes Hayes pause. "Check the date stamps on those documents. Check them carefully." But he's too drunk on vindication to listen. The base commander fast-tracks a military tribunal, eager to close a chapter that has haunted Fort Bragg for too long. Sarah refuses legal counsel, sitting alone at the defendant's table in her janitor's uniform, while prosecutors in crisp dress blues outline their case. The evidence appears damning. Classified documents that detail Phoenix Protocol's operations, technical specifications for weapons systems still in use, operational plans that could compromise dozens of ongoing missions. Hayes takes the stand with barely controlled emotion, his testimony painting Sarah as a cancer that needs excision from the military body. He speaks of unit morale, of the damage done by keeping a known coward on base, of justice delayed for the soldiers who died under her command. Through it all, Sarah sits with an expression of strange peace, as if she's waiting for something the rest of the room can't see. The prosecutor reads charge after charge, each one carrying enough weight to ensure Sarah spends decades in military prison. Unauthorized possession of classified materials, dereliction of duty, conduct unbecoming an officer. The list grows longer as the morning wears on, and with each accusation the assembled soldiers grow more convinced of her guilt. Some shake their heads in disgust, others whisper about how they always knew something was wrong with her. But in the back row, General Chen checks her watch repeatedly, her jaw clenched tight. As the prosecutor launches into a speech about the sacred trust between soldiers and their leaders, the courtroom doors burst open with enough force to rattle the windows. General Patricia Chen strides through in full dress uniform, her voice cutting through the shocked silence like a blade. "Stop this trial immediately. Those documents were planted by my office as part of a base-wide security assessment." The revelation ripples through the courtroom like a shockwave. Chen approaches the judge's bench, producing a sealed folder marked with classification stamps that make even the seasoned prosecutor step back. She explains with military precision how the documents found in Sarah's quarters contain traceable markers, digital watermarks invisible to the naked eye, but screaming their artificial origin to anyone who knows where to look. The entire arrest, the trial, the rush to judgment, all of it orchestrated to test how easily false evidence could destroy a soldier's life within the military justice system. Sarah knew from the moment they planted the documents. She's not a disgraced soldier awaiting vindication. She's a security consultant who volunteered to play the victim in an exercise designed to expose dangerous vulnerabilities in base protocols. But Chen's revelation goes deeper than a simple security test. She turns to face the assembled soldiers, her voice carrying the weight of 3 years of silence. "You've spent 3 years spitting on a hero," she says. "Sarah Mitchell isn't just any soldier. She's Phoenix 1, the operative who chose disgrace over glory to protect ongoing operations and innocent lives." The general gestures to Sarah, who finally rolls up her sleeve to reveal the Phoenix Protocol emblem tattooed on her inner wrist. The intricate design shows a phoenix rising from flames, with 12 stars representing the original team members. Only those who've seen the classified files would recognize it, but its meaning hits the room like a physical force. This woman they've mocked and marginalized holds a designation reserved for assets so valuable that their true service records exist only in Pentagon vaults. Chen pulls out a different folder, this one containing the real story of Operation Silent Thunder. She reads excerpts that paint a vastly different picture than the rumors that have circulated for 3 years. Sarah didn't abandon her unit. She prevented them from delivering a bioweapon into the hands of terrorists who had infiltrated the extraction team. Her cowardice involved holding a position alone against overwhelming odds while her team evacuated civilians. The mission report's clinical language can't hide the heroism between its lines. 10,000 civilians lived because Sarah Mitchell chose conscience over career. The Syrian scientist they were sent to extract had tested his weapons on entire villages. Sarah's decision to ensure his capture by forces seeking justice saved countless future victims. Hayes' face drains of color as Chen continues reading. The report details how Phoenix 3 cradled a dying soldier in her arms, promising to care for his family, to ensure his brother knew he died with honor. The soldier's name appears in stark black text. Private Mitchell Hayes, age 22, killed in action while shielding civilian evacuees. The care packages on the 15th of each month suddenly make terrible sense. Sarah's strange behavior when Hayes screamed at her, staring at his dog tags instead of his face, takes on new meaning. She knew exactly who was tormenting her and chose to absorb his rage rather than shatter his world with the truth. Every insult, every humiliation, every moment of public disgrace, she endured it all to let a grieving brother process his pain without the burden of knowing he was attacking his brother's protector. The base erupts in chaos as the truth sinks in. Soldiers who participated in mocking Sarah stand frozen, processing the weight of their actions. Some begin crying, others snap to attention and salute, seeking absolution through military protocol. Hayes collapses into his chair, clutching his brother's dog tags as the full scope of his ignorance crashes over him. He's been torturing the woman who held his brother as he died, who's been anonymously supporting him for 3 years, who chose to bear his hatred rather than defend herself with truth. Sarah rises from the defendant's table, adjusting her torn sleeve with the same quiet dignity she's maintained throughout her ordeal. Without a word, without acknowledging the salutes or tears, she walks toward the exit, but she's not walking toward vindication or revenge. Her measured steps carry her toward one final mission. The Pentagon's response arrives within hours. Full reinstatement with back pay, restoration of rank and privileges, a public ceremony to acknowledge her service. The brass wants to make this right with medals and speeches, to transform their shame into a publicity victory about honoring hidden heroes. Hayes faces immediate court-martial proceedings for conduct unbecoming an officer. His systematic harassment documented in painful detail. Brooks and the other officers who participated in Sarah's humiliation scramble to offer public apologies, their words hollow with self-preservation. But Sarah responds to none of it. She sits in General Chen's office, still wearing her janitor's uniform, and slides a single sheet of paper across the desk. Her terms are simple and non-negotiable. She wants nothing for herself. No rank, no recognition, no revenge. Just one request: Hayes' immediate reassignment to her old unit, where he can learn what service truly means. Chen tries to argue, to convince Sarah she deserves more than this quiet exit from injustice. But Sarah reaches into her pocket and produces a letter, worn soft from handling, its edges frayed from 3 years of secret-keeping. Mitchell Hayes' final message to his brother, written in shaking handwriting as Phoenix Protocol prepared for what became their last mission. Sarah never sent it, choosing instead to let Derek's anger at her provide a cleaner target than his grief. Now she spreads it on the general's desk, Mitchell's words visible in fading ink. "Tell Derek I died proud. Tell him to live angry at the enemy, not himself. Tell him the uniform means protecting those who can't protect themselves, even when no one's watching, especially then." The letter continues with memories of their childhood, of the promise Derek made to keep his little brother safe, of how that promise was never broken because some bonds transcend physical presence. Sarah explains her reasoning with the same tactical precision she once used to plan missions. Grief needs a target, and she made herself available for that role. Every insult Hayes hurled at her was pain he didn't turn inward. Every public humiliation was a pressure valve for rage that might have destroyed him otherwise. She absorbed his hatred like armor absorbs bullets, damaged but functional, dented but not broken. The investigation Chen mentioned was real, but Sarah volunteered for it precisely because it would expose Hayes's behavior in a way that forced him to confront the truth. She orchestrated her own vindication not for personal satisfaction, but to create a moment where Hayes could transform his misdirected fury into purposeful service. The cruelty of grief makes monsters of good people, but purpose can remake them into something stronger. What would you do if the truth could save your reputation but destroy innocent lives? Drop a comment below. The real revelation comes when Sarah details how she spent 3 years building something from the ashes of her disgrace. Using her janitor's access to move freely through the base, she's created an underground network for veterans struggling with invisible wounds. Supply closets hide care packages for soldiers too proud to ask for help. Maintenance schedules provide cover for confidential counseling sessions. The crazy woman who talks to herself in Arabic has actually been conducting therapy sessions for interpreters suffering from survivor's guilt. Every dollar of her janitor's salary goes toward medications that soldiers can't afford or won't request through official channels. She's been running Phoenix House in everything but name, transforming her disgrace into a disguise that lets her reach those who would never seek help from someone in uniform. Sarah's vision extends beyond individual healing. She presents Chen with a comprehensive proposal to convert the base's abandoned barracks into an official veterans support center. The building sits empty, a monument to budget cuts and bureaucratic indifference, but Sarah sees potential in its bones. Treatment rooms, where warriors can admit weakness without sacrificing honor. Meditation spaces for those whose nights echo with gunfire. Workshop areas where hands trained for destruction can learn creation. The security test she participated in wasn't just about exposing vulnerabilities. It was about generating the crisis necessary to force leadership's attention toward the invisible casualties of service. Every detail of Phoenix House has been planned with the same precision she once applied to combat operations. From the deliberately non-military decor to the entrance positioned where soldiers can enter without being observed. From main base traffic, Hayes breaks completely when Sarah finally addresses him directly. She speaks without anger, without judgment, with the same steady tone she used to issue orders under fire. She tells him about Mitchell's final moments, how he spotted the sniper and chose to shield a child rather than take cover. How his last words weren't about pain or fear, but about ensuring Derek knew he kept his promise to serve with honor. She shows him photographs from her locked drawer. Not just the circled unit picture, but dozens of images of Mitchell during Phoenix training, grinning beneath face paint, helping village children, standing proud in gear too heavy for his slight frame. Each image breaks another piece of Hayes' anger until only grief remains. When he collapses, sobbing, Sarah does something that shocks everyone present. She kneels beside him, not as Phoenix One or a superior officer, but as one human being to another, and whispers, "There's nothing to forgive. Pain makes us cruel. Purpose makes us kind. Your brother knew that. Now you need to learn it too." Chen approves Phoenix House within the hour, cutting through red tape with the authority of someone who's kept too many secrets for too long. The abandoned barracks transform under Sarah's guidance, with Hayes leading the volunteer crews who work through nights and weekends to create something beautiful from neglect. Former critics become the project's fiercest advocates, their guilt transformed into determination. Sarah refuses any official position at Phoenix House, maintaining her role as janitor while quietly ensuring every detail reflects hard-won wisdom about what broken warriors truly need. She trains Hayes personally, teaching him to recognize the signs others miss. The soldier who always sits with their back to walls, the clerk whose hands shake when processing casualty reports, the mechanic who works 18-hour days to avoid sleeping. Fort Bragg undergoes a cultural transformation that begins in whispers and grows into institutional change. Mandatory training sessions teach soldiers to recognize invisible service, to understand that the greatest sacrifices often wear no medals. The mess hall worker who knows every soldier's name might be processing her own combat trauma. The maintenance crew that works overnight could be veterans, using routine to manage hypervigilance. Sarah's story, carefully edited to protect ongoing operations, becomes required reading for incoming officers. Monthly silent service, recognition ceremonies, honor those whose contributions pass unnoticed. The chaplain who prevents more casualties than any medic. The administrative assistant who catches signs of crisis in routine paperwork. The janitor who keeps secrets that could destroy lives. Each ceremony ends with the Phoenix Pledge. I see you, I honor you, I stand with you. Sarah maintains her routine with deliberate precision. She still arrives at 0400 hours, still pushes her mop through empty corridors, still takes her meals alone. But now soldiers nod respectfully when they pass. Some stop to help her move heavy equipment, not from pity, but from understanding that service takes infinite forms. Young recruits seek her out for advice, finding wisdom in her economical words. She teaches through action rather than speeches, demonstrating that dignity exists independent of rank, that honor flourishes in shadow as readily as spotlight. When a new recruit mocks a cafeteria worker for spilling gravy, the entire mess hall goes silent. Hayes appears at the recruit's shoulder, his transformation from tormentor to protector complete. "You have no idea who you're talking to," he says quietly. "None of us do. That's the point." The cafeteria worker, a former army nurse whose hands shake from memories of triage in Kandahar, meets Sarah's eyes across the room. Sarah offers the smallest smile, the first witnesses have seen in 3 years, as she helps clean the spilt food. Her phoenix tattoo emerges briefly from her sleeve as she works, and the recruit's face transforms from arrogance to recognition to shame. He drops to help clean, apologizing with the frantic energy of someone who's glimpsed how wrong they've been. Sarah stops him with a gentle hand on his shoulder. "We all start ignorant," she says. "Growth comes from choosing to see." The moment becomes another teaching tool, another small revolution in how Fort Bragg understands service and sacrifice. Phoenix House opens its doors 6 months after the trial, with no fanfare or ribbon-cutting ceremonies. Sarah insisted on soft launches, allowing veterans to discover the resource naturally rather than forcing spotlight on those who've spent years hiding their struggles. Hayes manages daily operations with surprising gentleness, having learned that strength sometimes means creating space for others' weakness. The building hums with quiet activity: art therapy in the morning, group sessions at noon, vocational training in the afternoon. A meditation garden blooms where the motor pool once leaked oil, its plants chosen by a botanist who lost her legs to an IED, but not her love of growing things. The workshop produces furniture that graces generals' offices, each piece carrying invisible stories of hands learning to build after years of breaking. Sarah's influence spreads beyond Fort Bragg's gates. Other bases request consultation on creating their own Phoenix houses, and she responds with detailed plans sent through intermediaries. She never travels, never speaks publicly, never allows her image to be used for recruitment or propaganda. Her insistence on anonymity frustrates Pentagon officials who want to transform her into a symbol, but Chen protects Sarah's choice with fierce loyalty. The real memorial to Phoenix Protocol isn't built from marble or brass, but from the thousands of veterans who find healing in spaces designed by someone who understands that the deepest wounds never bleed. Sarah's methods become textbook material at military academies, taught by professors who've never seen her face but recognize brilliance in systems that treat warriors as whole humans rather than broken machines. The dawn finds Sarah alone on the training ground, where her humiliation began. She moves through kata with fluid precision, her body remembering combat training that janitors supposedly never receive. The Phoenix House lights glow behind her, warm windows where veterans work through their darkness together. She wears Mitchell Hayes dog tags alongside 11 others, each name whispered to the sunrise in a ritual that honors memory through repetition. Some mornings Hayes joins her, matching her movements in silence that speaks louder than any apology. They don't talk about Syria or brothers or the weight of secrets. They simply move together through forms that transform violence into meditation, sharing space in the way warriors do when words have become unnecessary. The investigation file closes with a final entry from General Chen, written for eyes that won't read it for decades. She describes Sarah Mitchell as the military's greatest success, disguised as its most profound failure. A woman who chose disgrace over glory, anonymity over acclaim, service over self. Chen notes that true leadership sometimes means allowing others to hate you so their hatred doesn't turn inward, that the highest form of warrior protects not just bodies but souls, not just present but future. The file contains one last photograph: Sarah in her janitor's uniform, pushing her mop past a group of Phoenix House graduates. They're laughing at something, their faces bright with possibility. Sarah watches from the edges, invisible as always, her slight smile suggesting she's exactly where she wants to be. Have you ever had to stay silent while others judged you unfairly? Share your story in the comments. Sarah's story reminds us that true heroes rarely wear their medals where we can see them. They're the ones who choose honor over glory, service over recognition, healing over revenge. Right now, someone in your life might be carrying invisible scars, fighting battles you know nothing about. Maybe it's the quiet coworker who deflects every personal question, the withdrawn neighbor who maintains their lawn with military precision but never makes eye contact, the family member who failed at something but won't explain why. What if their failure was actually their greatest victory? What if their silence protects you from truths too heavy to share? The world turns on the actions of those who choose obscurity, who build foundations for others' success, who absorb pain so others can heal. They walk among us, wearing janitor uniforms and food service aprons, pushing mops and serving meals while carrying secrets that would redefine how we see courage. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to remember that not all heroes wear capes. Some wear whatever allows them to serve without being seen. Remember that the bravest battles are fought in silence, and the greatest victories are the ones no one celebrates. Phoenix House exists in every place where someone chooses compassion over credit, where service matters more than status. You might be walking past your own Sarah Mitchell every day, never knowing that their mundane presence masks extraordinary sacrifice. The question isn't whether these hidden heroes exist, they do. In every community, in every profession, in every corner where duty calls and nobody answers. Duty calls. The question is whether we'll learn to see them, to honor service that seeks no spotlight, to build our own phoenix houses where broken warriors can become healers. What's your invisible battle? Maybe it's time to share it, to find others who understand that sometimes the greatest courage looks like surrender, that sometimes winning means letting others think you've lost. Where are you watching from? Are you a veteran, military family, or someone who's been misunderstood? Let's build our own Phoenix House in these comments. Let's create space for stories that matter more than medals, for truths that heal more than vindication. Sarah Mitchell pushes her mop through empty corridors, a ghost who chose to haunt so others could live. Her legacy isn't written in citations or carved in stone. It lives in every soldier who learned to see beyond surface, every veteran who found healing in spaces built for her disgrace, every act of service that seeks shadow rather than spotlight. In the end, that's what Phoenix Protocol always meant. Not the mission that made headlines, but the choice to rise from ashes without anyone watching, to burn so others could see light, to fall so others could fly.